The box arrived, I opened it, and an alien woman declared her love. Alec Carter wasn't expecting a package, which made it all the more suspicious when one materialized in front of his apartment door with the ominous finality of a death sentence. It sat there squat and unassuming the way all terrifying things did before they revealed their true horror, like Bill's malfunctioning AIS or his mother's unexpected video calls. He frowned down at it. The shipping label was printed in a language he didn't recognize. The return address was an indecipherable string of numbers and symbols, and the crate itself was reinforced with something that looked an awful lot like high-grade military containment plating. That was rarely a good sign. For a brief hopeful moment, he considered that maybe this was one of those cosmic delivery mix-ups. Maybe it was meant for someone else. Maybe some poor sap was out there frantically refreshing their tracking number, wondering why their mystery cargo had landed on a random freelancer's doorstep in the outer rim of civilized space. Then the crate beeped. Alec took a reflexive step back. Crates weren't supposed to beep. Beeping implied countdowns, and countdowns implied explosions, and Alec's strongly preferred his limbs attached to his body. Another beep. This time the crate emitted a faint blue glow along its edges, as if some internal mechanism had activated. Alec debated calling station security. Then he remembered that the last time he'd called them, it had taken them 6 hours to respond to a break-in report, only for them to shrug and say, "Have you tried locking your door?" before billing him for wasting their time. No, if this was some kind of deadly alien artifact, he was on his own. The crate beeped a third time, and then with the slow, deliberate grace of a machine that was taking its sweet time, it began to open. The top split apart first, then the sides peeled back in sections, revealing a dark interior lined with what looked like advanced cryostasis mechanisms. Frost hissed into the air, curling in delicate spirals before dissipating into the artificial atmosphere of his tiny apartment. Alec barely had time to process that before movement stirred within. Then, from the depths of the crate, a figure sat up. A woman, an alien woman, and she was looking directly at him. Alex's brain, to its credit, made a valiant attempt to process this development. It took stock of the situation. Mysterious package check. Unexpected occupant check. Said occupant being an inhumanly beautiful woman with long, delicate ears and glowing golden eyes. Big check. His mouth moved before his common sense could catch up. He said intelligently. The alien woman blinked at him, then with an effortless grace that made him feel like a particularly clumsy sack of human bones. She rose from her cryo bed and stepped onto the floor of his apartment. Her hair was long, dark, and shimmered faintly as she moved, like it was catching the glow of some unseen light source. Her skin had a subtle iridescence, as if tiny flecks of stardust had embedded themselves beneath its surface. She regarded him for a long moment, her head tilting slightly, as if cataloging him with some unseen internal system. Then she smiled. Alec had never seen a smile quite like that before. It wasn't just pleasant, it was knowing, like she'd been waiting for this exact moment, like she already knew things about him he hadn't even figured out himself. Then she spoke. "I'm yours now." Alec made a sound that might have been an aborted laugh, or maybe just his brain crashing and rebooting. "Come again." She took a step closer. "I am yours," she repeated, as if that clarified anything. "I belong to you." Alex's survival instincts, honed over years of navigating the less reputable corners of the galaxy, finally kicked in. "Okay," he said slowly, hands raised in the universal sign of let's not do anything crazy just yet. "Let's back up a second. Who are you, and more importantly, why were you delivered to me like a package?" The woman's expression didn't change. "I am Lion." "Great, nice to meet you, Lion. Now about the whole belonging to me thing." "It is fate." Alex stared at her. "It is what?" Lion clasped her hands together, looking oddly delighted by his confusion. "You have been chosen. The cosmic threads of destiny have aligned, and now our paths are woven together. You are my bonded partner, and I am yours." Alec pinched the bridge of his nose. "Okay, right, of course, cosmic destiny. Because that's a totally normal thing that happens." Lian nodded, apparently not picking up on his sarcasm. Alec exhaled sharply. "Look, I think there's been a mistake. I didn't sign up for any alien matchmaking service." Lion's expression softened, her ears twitching slightly. "You do not believe in fate." "I believe in cargo manifests and shipping errors." He Gestured toward the now empty crate, so unless there's some kind of cosmic tracking number on that thing, I'm going to go ahead and assume someone screwed up big time. Leon considered this then. With all the solemnity of someone discussing the mysteries of the universe, she said, "Do you wish to return me?" Alec hesitated. It was a trap. He knew it was a trap. There was no right answer to that question. Lion must have sensed his hesitation because she suddenly took a step forward, closing the space between them in a way that felt entirely too intentional. She peered up at him, her golden eyes shimmering. "Do I displease you?" Alec choked on air. "What? No, that's not." He scrubbed a hand down his face. "Look, it's not about," he groaned. "This isn't normal. You don't just show up in someone's apartment claiming cosmic destiny and expect them to just go along with it." Lion's ears twitched again. "Why not?" Because he struggled for words. "Because humans don't do that. We have dating and talking and not shipping people in crates to complete strangers." Lion blinked, then smiled again. "Ah, you are courting me?" Alex's brain blue-greened. This was going to be a long night. Alec Carter had officially reached the part of his life where he needed a drink before noon. Not that he was much of a drinker, but when you woke up to find an alien woman rearranging your apartment because she had decided she lived there, now you either adapted or you went insane, and Alec was pretty sure he was teetering on the edge of the second option. He leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, watching as Lion hummed to herself while adjusting the floating shelves over his workstation. She had somehow, within the span of a few hours, managed to integrate herself into his living space like she'd been there for years. His carefully arranged, completely chaotic pile of tools organized by size and function, his collection of mismatched coffee mugs stacked with alarming symmetry, the pile of laundry he kept meaning to do magically vanished, and now she was going after his shelves. What exactly are you doing?" Alec finally asked. Leon, perched gracefully on his countertop, glanced over her shoulder. "Improving efficiency." "That's nice. Please stop." She ignored him and continued adjusting things with the confidence of someone who had zero intention of stopping. Alec's sighed and ran a hand through his already messy hair. "Look, I get that you think we're supposed to be together, or whatever cosmic nonsense you said last night, but this is not normal." Leon hopped down from the counter and turned to face him, her long ears twitching slightly. "It is normal for me, yeah. Well, I hate to break it to you, but I'm not an alien. Humans don't just decide to move in with strangers and start optimizing their lives." Leon tilted her head as if considering this. "That seems inefficient." Alec blinked. "I'm sorry." What? She gestured vaguely at the apartment. "Your space was cluttered. Your habits are chaotic. You left your charging pad in the freezer." Alec opened his mouth, then immediately shut it. "Okay, that last part was probably his fault, but in his defense, he had been running on 3 hours of sleep in a questionable amount of caffeine when it happened." Lurian took a step closer, her expression softening. "I only wish to help in my culture. Partners support one another in all things." Alec groaned and scrubbed a hand down his face. "Leon, I'm not your partner." "I didn't. There wasn't." He exhaled sharply. "Look, I think there's been a mistake. Maybe there's a way to, I don't know, return you." The second the words left his mouth, he regretted them. Lion's golden eyes widened, her ears drooping in a way that immediately made him feel like the worst person in the universe. "You wish to send me away?" she asked, voice quieter than before. Alec hesitated. "I mean, I just," he groaned. "You arrived in a crate." Leon, "A crate? Do you not see how weird that is?" She frowned, looking genuinely confused. "That is how the ritual works." "What ritual?" "The binding selection." Lion clasped her hands together. "It is an ancient custom. When one is chosen, they are delivered to their destined partner to begin their new life together." Alec blinked at her. "You're telling me your people mail order their spouses?" Leon frowned. "When you say it like that, it sounds strange." "That's because it's strange." She looked utterly unbothered. "It is a sacred practice." Alec exhaled sharply. "Right, okay, sacred practice. Got it." He rubbed his temples. "So what happens if your destined partner says no?" Lion tilted her head. "Why would they say no?" Alec let out a humorless laugh. "Oh, I don't know. Maybe because they weren't expecting a whole person to show up on their doorstep and declare eternal devotion." Leon considered this for a moment. "Has this situation caused you distress?" Alex stared at her. "Has this?" Leon, "I had plans. I was going to have a quiet morning drink, some coffee maybe. Fix my ship's thrusters, not navigate the existential horror of intergalactic matchmaking. Lian gave him a long, measured look, then, with all the solemnity of someone about to impart great wisdom, she said, "Would coffee help?" Alex stared, then despite himself he laughed. Yeah, Lian, coffee would help." Lian beamed. Alec was starting to suspect he had already lost whatever battle he thought he was fighting. By the time afternoon rolled around, Alec had come to two conclusions. One, Lian was terrifyingly efficient at making herself comfortable. Two, he was never going to win an argument with her. She had, within a matter of hours, not only cleaned his apartment, but also somehow repaired the faulty wiring in his kitchen, and installed a translation program into his home system, one that worked significantly better than the overpriced junk he had been using. "How did you even do that?" Alec asked, staring at the newly updated interface on his wall panel. Lian shrugged. "It was inefficient." Alec rubbed his temples. "You keep saying that word like it personally offends you." Lian gave him a completely serious look. "It does." Alec groaned. "I don't suppose there's any way to convince you to." "I don't know." Relax. She looked genuinely puzzled. "Why would I do that?" "Because normal people don't optimize everything." Lian blinked at him. "But you are not normal." Alec nearly choked on his coffee. "Excuse me, you are my bonded partner," Lian said matter-of-factly. "That makes you exceptional." Alec stared at her. "And damn it, why did that actually sound kind of nice?" He shook his head, quickly trying to shove that thought into a mental airlock and launch it into deep space. "Look," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, "I still don't know what I'm supposed to do with you. I mean, are you just staying here forever?" Lian tilted her head, her long ears twitching. "That is the custom." Alec groaned. "Right, of course it is." Lian stepped closer, peering up at him with those impossibly golden eyes. "You seem distressed again." "Yeah, well, pardon me for not being emotionally prepared for surprise cosmic soul bonding." Lian gave him a small, knowing smile. "You will adapt." Alex sighed heavily. "That's what I'm afraid of." Alec Carter had officially lost control of his life. He wasn't sure when exactly it had happened, probably somewhere between the moment he opened an unmarked crate and the moment an alien woman stepped out of it, declaring cosmic destiny. But at this point it was undeniable he was no longer in charge. Lian had decided she was staying, and to his mounting horror she was good at it, not just in the casually reorganizing his entire life way, but in the unsettling way in which she just adapted, like the universe had pre-installed a make yourself comfortable anywhere setting into her very existence. It had been less than 24 hours, and she had already figured out how to use his outdated home system, programmed his appliances to function at peak efficiency, and somehow fixed the persistent gravitational flicker in the corner of his apartment that he had long since given up on. Alec was still trying to wrap his head around that last one. "How did you do that?" he demanded, pointing at the corner where the annoying microgravity anomaly used to be. Lian, seated cross-legged on his couch, sipped at a mug of tea like she hadn't just performed casual sorcery. It was a simple calibration. Alex stared. "I had 3 engineers look at that. One of them gave up and told me to just make peace with the minor gravitational inconsistencies of life." Lian tilted her head. "That is foolish. Gravity should be stable." "Yes, thank you." Lian, I know that. She nodded, as if they had just had a perfectly normal conversation, and not one in which she had casually undone a problem that had plagued his apartment for years. Alec exhaled sharply. He needed to focus. He had a very important goal today: figuring out what exactly he was supposed to do about his new situation. Because as much as Lyrian seemed perfectly content with this whole bonded partner thing, Alec was still very much trying to process it. "Okay," he said, sitting down across from her, "we need to talk." Lian took another sip of tea. "We are talking." "No, I mean," he groaned, "we need to talk about this, about you and me, and the fact that you got delivered to me in a box." Lian blinked at him. It was a ceremonial vessel. It was a crate, a sacred crate. Alec pinched the bridge of his nose. "Lian," she gave him an amused look. "Alec," he sighed, "look, I need answers, okay? I need to understand what's going on here." Lian sat down her tea and folded her hands in her lap. "What do you wish to know?" "Let's start with the basics. What exactly is this bonding thing?" Lian's ears twitched slightly. "It is the process by which a chosen pair are united." "Right, and by chosen you mean she tilted her head as if trying to find the simplest way to explain it. The selection is determined by the cosmic weave. Alex stared at her. I feel like you're capitalizing that I am, he exhaled. Through his nose, and what exactly is the cosmic weave? Lion's golden eyes shimmered faintly. It is the thread that binds all things, it is the force that aligns the fates of those who are meant to be together. Alec rubbed his temples. Okay, so let me get this straight. Some cosmic matchmaking force just decided we were a perfect pair, and so your people packed you up and shipped you to me. Leon nodded. Yes, that's. Alec groaned. That's not how things work, Leon. It is how my people work. Alec threw up his hands. That's not better. Leon gave him a thoughtful look. You are distressed again. Yes, I am distressed again. She considered this perhaps a bonding gift would ease your worries. Alec blinked. To what now? Lion smiled, and for the first time Alec had the distinct feeling that he was about to regret asking. 20 minutes later, Alec was sitting at his dining table, staring at what could only be described as an alien artifact of questionable legality. It was small, palm-sized, and looked like a cross between a data crystal and a piece of living metal. It pulsed faintly with an inner light, shifting in color depending on how the dim station lighting hit it. What? Alex said slowly. Is this? Leon, standing beside him, beamed. It as a bonding token. Alec looked at her, then back at the artifact. And what does it do? It attunes to you. Alec narrowed his eyes. Define attune. Lion's ears twitched. It becomes connected to your essence. Alec gave her a flat look. That is not a definition. Lion reached out and picked up the token, holding it between her fingers. The moment she touched it, the light inside shifted, taking on a golden hue that matched her eyes. She turned it toward him. Here, hold it. Alec hesitated. He had the distinct feeling that once he touched that thing, he was going to be way more involved in this than he wanted to be. But Lion was watching him with open expectation, her expression patient yet unwavering. With a resigned sigh, Alec reached out and took the token from her hand. The moment his fingers closed around it, the inner light pulsed, then shifted, fading from gold to a deep stormy blue. Alec stiffened. Leon smiled. It has accepted you. Alec very carefully placed the token back on the table. That's great, fantastic. I love being accepted by ominous alien technology. Leon tilted her head. You are uneasy? Yes. Lion, I am uneasy. She considered this, then gave him a small knowing smile. You will adapt. Alec let out a strangled noise. Somewhere in the vast and uncaring universe, he was certain something was laughing at him. Alec Carter had survived a lot of things in his life, questionable spaceports malfunctioning, grav lifts. That one time a vending machine tried to eat his arm, but nothing had prepared him for the experience of waking up to the smell of something cooking in his kitchen. The problem, he lived alone. Correction, he used to live alone. With a groan, he sat up, rubbing his face as his brain struggled to boot up properly. He had spent most of the night overthinking the extremely concerning fact that he now apparently had a bonding token attuned to his essence that was not the kind of thing a man just got over. The scent wafted in again, something savory, warm and oddly floral. Alec frowned. That was new. Pushing himself out of bed, he trudged into the main living space, only to freeze at the sight before him. Lion was in his kitchen cooking, and not just in the making a cup of tea sense. No, she had full-on commandeered his stove, several of his appliances, and a handful of ingredients he didn't even remember buying. She was wearing one of his shirts, one that was comically large on her, and her long ears twitched slightly as she focused on whatever culinary experiment she was conducting. Alec took a slow step forward. Do I even want to know what you're making? Leon turned, smiling as if this was a perfectly normal morning breakfast. Alec eyed the pan in her hands. The contents were purple and glowing slightly. Aha, he said, voice still with sleep. And what exactly is this? Breakfast, Leon gestured to the pan. It is a traditional dish from my home world. I thought you might appreciate a proper meal to start your day. Alex slowly sat down at the table, watching her with suspicion. Does it always glow like that? Lion glanced at the pan, then back at him. Of course. Alec pinched the bridge of his nose. Of course it does, Lion hummed as she finished plating the food, setting it down in front of him with all the confidence of someone who was completely sure she had done something good. Alex stared at it. The purple dish shimmered faintly under the kitchen lights, looking like something that belonged in a laboratory, not on a breakfast plate. Lion Slid into the seat across from him, watching expectantly. Alec cleared his throat. So, is this safe for humans? Lian blinked. Why would I feed you something unsafe, forgive me, if I don't have full faith in the intergalactic food safety guidelines? She huffed, crossing her arms. It is entirely edible. Alec hesitated. Then picked up his fork, poking at the food cautiously. It jiggled. Lion raised a brow. Are you always this distrustful? Alec pointed at the plate. It's moving. Lian, that means it is fresh. That means it's thinking about running away. Lyrian sighed, clearly exasperated. Just try it. Alec sighed dramatically, but ultimately gave in, scooping up a small bite and hesitantly putting it in his mouth. His first thought was that it was surprisingly not bad. His second thought was that his tongue was now tingling. His third thought was, oh no, it's spreading. He swallowed quickly, blinking as an odd sensation rushed through him. It wasn't painful, exactly, more like his nerve endings had just discovered a whole new frequency of existing. Lion watched him expectantly. Well, Alec licked his lips, frowning. I can taste colors now. Lian beamed. Excellent. That means it is working. Alec pointed at her. That is not a normal thing to say about breakfast. She shrugged. It heightens perception. It is quite beneficial. Alec exhaled slowly. Lion, you cannot just drug me first thing in the morning. It is not a drug, it is food. Food should not make me hear the concept of the color blue. Lion tilted her head. And what does it sound like? Alec opened his mouth, paused, closed it again. She smirked. You do not know, do you? Alec groaned. I hate that you find this funny. Lyrian's smirk grew. I do not know what you mean. Alec gave her a deadpan look, then pushed the plate away. Nope, that's it, I'm making toast. Lion sighed, but let him retreat toward the safety of normal food. The rest of the morning continued in much the same way. Alec attempting to reclaim some sense of normalcy, while Lian continued to operate under the assumption that she now lived here and nothing was unusual about that. It was deeply, deeply unsettling how quickly she had made herself at home. By the time midday rolled around, Alec had resigned himself to the fact that this was his new reality, waking up to strange alien breakfast, engaging in cosmic matchmaking debates, and somehow still being the one losing every argument. And the worst part, he was starting to get used to it. That was a problem, because the moment he got comfortable, that was the moment the universe usually decided to throw something worse at him. Sure enough, right on cue, his home system chimed with an incoming transmission. Alec frowned. That was unusual. Lion looked up from where she was perched on his couch, ears twitching slightly. Someone is trying to contact you. Alec rolled his eyes. Yes, Lion, thank you for that stunning observation. She ignored his sarcasm as he moved to check the terminal. Alec pressed a button, and a holographic display flickered to life. A familiar and extremely annoyed-looking face appeared on the screen. It was Kara, an old friend and occasional business partner. Alec, she said, crossing her arms. Tell me why there's suddenly a bounty on your head. Alec froze. Lion perked up. A bounty? Alec turned to her, eyes wide, not helping Kara's side look. I don't know what you did, but someone is paying a lot of credits to find you. Alec groaned. Fantastic, just what I needed. Lian leaned, and eyes gleaming with curiosity. Is this a normal occurrence? Kara gave him a flat look. Seriously, Alec, what did you do? Alec ran a hand through his hair. I have no idea, but deep down he was starting to have a very bad feeling about what or who this might be related to, and judging by the way Lion was watching him with open intrigue, she had a lot of questions. Unfortunately, so did he. Alec Carter had officially reached his limit for unexpected nonsense. A mysterious bonding ritual. Fine, an alien woman moving into his apartment. Unannounced, not great but manageable, but a bounty on his head. That was where he drew the line. He stared at the flickering transmission, where Kara was watching him with the sharp-eyed scrutiny of someone who really wanted an explanation. Alec, she said, voice edged with impatience. Talk now. Alec exhaled. Okay, first of all, let me just say, if you say it's not what it looks like, I will punch this screen. Kara interrupted. Alec groaned. I don't even know what it looks like. Then maybe you should figure it out, because there are people out here asking questions, and if I found this out, you can bet that the wrong people will too. Lian, still seated on his couch, tilted her head. How much is the bounty? Kara blinked, then squinted at the screen as if just noticing Lion for the first time. Who's your new friend? Alec waved a hand vaguely. Long story. Alien was delivered in a box. May. Not be cosmically bonded to me. Kara stared at him, then at Lee and then back at Alec. I see, she said flatly, and I'm guessing this is why there's suddenly a Hypric contract floating around with your name on it. Alec had a very bad feeling that she was right. He turned to Leon. Okay, real talk, did you accidentally commit a crime by showing up here, or is there some kind of return to sender policy I should be aware of? Lion's ears twitched. My arrival was entirely legal. Define legal, she smiled. I do not require permission to fulfill a sacred bond. Alec groaned. That sounds exactly like something a person should require permission for. Kara sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. Okay. Here's what I do know. There's been some very quiet chatter about a missing asset from a rather powerful intergalactic faction. Something about an unclaimed celestial accord. Ring any bells? Alex slowly turned back to Lee and blinked at him, perfectly calm. That would be me. Alec dragged a hand down his face. Of course, it would be you. Caroline forward, frowning. You mind explaining why an entire faction wants you back? Lion tilted her head, golden eyes gleaming. It is likely because they believe my bond should have been approved by the council before proceeding. Alec made a strangled noise. Should it have been? Lee and gave a small amused shrug. I did not see the need. Kara stared at her. You just skipped the paperwork. Leon smiled. Bureaucracy is tedious. Alec threw up his hands. I cannot believe I'm going to die because an alien elf didn't want to file a form. Kara shook her head. All right, listen. Bounty aside, you need to figure out what these people want, because if they think you've stolen something, I have stolen nothing. Alec protested. It won't matter what you say. Kara finished. They'll come after you anyway. Alec exhaled sharply, running a hand through his already messy hair. Great, just great. Leon, meanwhile, looked positively unbothered. We should seek information directly. Alec raised a brow. And how exactly do you propose we do that? Lion's expression turned thoughtful. I may have an idea. That was how an hour later Alec found himself crouched behind a stack of cargo crates at the station's lower docks, regretting all of his life choices. This is a terrible idea, he muttered. Leon, crouched beside him, looked completely at ease. It is an efficient idea. Alex scowled, spying on a group of information brokers known for shooting first and asking questions. Never is not efficient, it's suicidal. Lion merely smiled. Then we should not get caught. Alec groaned. Fantastic, love the plan. Really feeling reassured over here. Lion peeked over the crates, watching a group of shadowy figures further ahead, engaged in quiet conversation. Alec recognized them, low-level fixers who thrived on station rumors. If anyone knew why there was a bounty on him, it was them. Unfortunately, getting that information without getting shot was another issue entirely. Lyrian studied them for a moment, then turned back to Alec. I can handle this. Alex squinted at her define handle. Lion's ears twitched. I will speak with them. Alec gave her a long, skeptical look. And that won't end in a blaster fight. How exactly? Leon smiled. I am very persuasive. Before Alec could protest, she stood and walked straight toward the group. Alec cursed under his breath, but stayed put, watching as Lyrian approached the fixers with the calm confidence of someone who had never considered being shot as a possibility. One of the fixers, tall, reptilian, and deeply unimpressed, looked her over. You lost, Lady. Leon smiled. Number, but you have something I want. Alec internally winced. Not a great start. Leon, the fixer chuckled darkly. That's so, and what exactly do we have that you want? Lion's golden eyes gleamed. Information, the fixer sneered. Information isn't free. Leon nodded. Of course not. Alec held his breath as Leon reached into her pocket and pulled something out. The fixers immediately tensed, hands hovering over their weapons until they saw what she was holding, a single gleaming data chip. The fixer frowned. What's that? Leon smiled. Something more valuable than credits. Alec clenched his jaw. Oh, she better know what she's doing. The fixer studied her for a long moment, then slowly he gestured for her to continue. Lion held the chip between her fingers. Tell me about the bounty on Alec Carter. The fixer's gaze flickered with recognition. Ah, that bounty. Alex's stomach sank. That was not a good. That the fixer smirked. All right, lady, let's make a deal. Alec groaned quietly. Oh, he was so going to regret this. Alec had many regrets in life, agreeing to let an alien woman move in with him, questionable but survivable. Discovering he had a bounty on his head, unpleasant but fixable. Letting Lyrian negotiate with a pack of intergalactic Information brokers absolutely undeniably the worst decision of all. He crouched lower behind the cargo crate's heart hammering in his chest watching, as Lion stood across from the reptilian. Fixer like she had personally invented confidence. The data chip gleamed between her fingers, and the fixers were staring at it with the same quiet calculation that a predator might give a particularly arrogant rabbit. The fixer leader, a tall scarred reptilian with a voice like a gravel slide, crossed his arms. So let me get this straight, he said, his yellow eyes narrowing at Lian. You want us to spill details about a bounty on your little human friend? Here, he flicked a clawed finger toward Alex's general hiding spot, and in exchange you're offering a single data chip. Lian tilted her head, golden eyes gleaming. Not just any data chip, Alec. Tense, the fixer gave a slow, unimpressed blink. You better hope it's the location of the Emperor's private bathroom, because that's the only thing worth. Lian smiled. It's a full map of Herrick Syndicate trade routes. Silence. Alex swore he heard the sound of several fixers blinking at once. Excuse me, the fixer leader asked, his tone suddenly a lot more careful. Lion lifted the data chip's slightly detailed logs. Shipment manifests, locations of secured vaults, a complete breakdown of the syndicate's transport network. She smiled. Shall I continue? Alec tried not to audibly panic. Where in all the black holes of the universe had she even gotten that, and why did she just casually have it? The fixers, meanwhile, were now looking at Lian very differently. The leader exhaled sharply, gaze darting toward his crew. Then, after a long pause, he sighed. All right, you have my attention. Lian smiled again, way too calm for someone who had just dangled incredibly valuable and possibly illegal information in front of some of the shadiest people in this part of the galaxy. The fixer leader crossed his arms. What exactly do you want to know? Lian's expression didn't change. The bounty on Alec Carter. Who placed it? The fixer leader exhaled, then flicked his fingers at one of his subordinates, a short, wiry being with far too many eyes. The fixer nodded and tapped on a small wrist display, scanning something before giving a quiet, confirming hum. Well, the leader asked. The short fixer frowned, eyes flicking toward Alex's hiding spot, then back to the leader. It's a private contract, they said, voice clipped, posted through anonymous channels, untraceable back to the origin. Alex's stomach sank. That was not the answer he wanted. Lion's ears twitched slightly. Anonymous? The fixer nodded. Yeah, but they hesitated. There's something weird about it. Alec resisted the urge to groan. Of course, there was. The fixer leader frowned. Weird how? The short fixer pulled up a projection of the bounty details. It doesn't read like a normal hit. No dead or alive clause, no asset retrieval conditions. They hesitated again, then looked at Lian. It just says return him to designated coordinates. Silence. Alec immediately did not like the sound of that. Lion, however, looked thoughtful. And the designated coordinates? The fixer tapped on the projection. The coordinates flashed into view, an unfamiliar string of numbers, but something about them made Lion's expression shift. Ah, she murmured. Alex, still crouched behind the crates, instantly disliked that reaction. Ah, he repeated, standing up fully. What? Ah. I don't like. Ali and turned toward him, golden eyes unreadable. The coordinates are for a location in neutral space. Alec frowned, and that means Lion's gaze flickered slightly. It is a known site for rights of reclamation. Alec really didn't like that phrasing. That sounds horrifically ominous. The fixer leader snorted. Oh, it is. He gave Alec a long look. If you're really Alec Carter had faced a lot of unexpected things lately, an alien woman arriving in a box, a cosmic bonding ritual he definitely hadn't signed up for, and of course the small matter of a mysterious bounty on his head. But standing here now, staring at the cold metallic surface of an unmarked space station in the middle of nowhere, he had to admit this was peak insanity. This is a terrible idea, Alec muttered under his breath. Lian, standing calmly beside him, arched a delicate eyebrow. That depends on your definition of terrible. Alec groaned. Anything that involves a right of reclamation and an anonymous bounty on my head qualifies as terrible. Lian, she hummed thoughtfully. It could be worse. Oh, Alec folded his arms. How? Lion's golden eyes twinkled with amusement. We could be here without a plan. Alec exhaled sharply, running a hand through his hair. I swear, if your plan is just walk inside and wing it, I'm going to not wing it. Lion corrected. Improvise. Alec threw up his hands. That's Literally the same thing. Lian merely smiled and strode forward, her long ears twitching slightly as she approached the station's entry panel. Alec groaned, but followed, muttering curses under his breath. The station was eerily quiet as they stepped inside the dim lighting. Flickering slightly, Alex's nerves prickled. Places like this always bad news. A voice crackled through a hidden speaker. State your purpose. Lyran didn't hesitate. We have come to resolve the right. There was a long pause, then a low mechanical hiss as the doors ahead of them slid open. Alex sighed. Yeah, that's not ominous at all. Lion walked forward without hesitation. Alec hesitated because self-preservation, then reluctantly followed. Inside the chamber was vast, its ceiling vanishing into darkness. In the center stood a single figure draped in a flowing deep blue robe, their face obscured by a hood. Ah, the figure said, voice smooth and oddly familiar. So you did come. Alex stiffened. Okay, that's never a good sign. Lian remained calm, her expression unreadable. Who are you? The figure chuckled, reaching up to lower their hood. Beneath it was a sharp-featured man with silver hair and piercing violet eyes. He studied Alec with a mixture of amusement and calculation. My name, he said, is Cale Vin. And you, Alec Carter, have something that belongs to me. Alec blinked. I what? He looked at Lion. Do I? Lian frowned slightly, then her golden eyes widened in realization. You are claiming the right of contested bond. Alec was not a fan of that phrase. I hate that. That's a thing. Cal smirked. It is very much a thing. Alec exhaled sharply. All right, explain it to me like I'm five. Cale spread his hands. Lion was originally promised to my house through an alliance bond. When she disappeared, he gave her a pointed look. Certain parties were displeased. Lion's expression remained unreadable. The choice was mine. Cale's smirk faltered slightly. Perhaps, but you bypassed official protocol and you chose him. He gestured to Alec, his voice laced with condescension. A human, a nobody. Alex scowled. Wow, love the way I'm really being respected here. Kyle ignored him. So here's the issue. I can't force Larry to return, but under the terms of the right, I can challenge her bond. His violet eyes gleamed. Which means you have to prove you're worthy of keeping it. Alec blinked. Wait, what? Kel's smirk widened. You and me, a challenge? Alec groaned. Oh, come on. Lurian, to her credit, did not look amused. This is foolish. Kyle's expression darkened slightly. Foolish or not, those are the rules. Alec pinched the bridge of his nose. Okay, fine, what's the challenge? A duel, a battle of wits. Cal held up a small device. A race. Alec blinked. I'm sorry, a what? Kyle gestured to the far side of the chamber where a set of sleek hovering speeders now lined the wall. First one to the marker wins. Alex stared at the speeders, then at Cale, then at Lian. All right, he said slowly, I have several questions. Kyle arched a brow. Are you forfeiting? Alec narrowed his eyes. Hell no. 2 minutes later, Alec was seated on a speeder, deeply regretting everything. Are you sure about this? Lian asked. Alec tightened his grip on the controls. Nope, but here we are. Cale smirked from his own speeder. Try to keep up. The starting light blinked. 3, 2, 1. The speeders launched forward. Alex's stomach plummeted as he shot through the narrow track. Cale already ahead. The station's gravity fluctuated slightly, making turns wildly unpredictable. Kyle was fast too. Fast, but Alec had one thing on his side: reckless improvisation, which was why, instead of dodging the next obstacle, Alec flipped the speeder sideways and skidded through a narrow gap, shaving precious seconds off his time. Kyle cursed. Alec grinned. Oh, what's that? Didn't account for human stupidity. Lian, watching from the sidelines, face palmed the finish line. Loomed ahead. Kyle surged forward. Alex slammed the accelerator and barrel rolled over him. Kyle yelled in frustration as Alex skidded across the finish line, barely half a second ahead. Silence, then the automated system beeped. Winner, Alec Carter. Alec gasped for breath. Oh my stars, I am never doing that again. Kyle looked murderous, but he sidestepping back. Fine, a deal's a deal. Lion smiled. Then we are done here. Alec turned to her. So this means? Lion tilted her head. It means the bond stands. I chose you. Alec blinked. He exhaled. Guess I'll have to get used to that. She smiled. Indeed. Alec chuckled. Well, guess we should go home. Lion's golden eyes gleamed. Agreed. The end.